Good morning, good morning, good morning, everyone. Thank you for tuning in today to another version of my podcast, Checkerboard Floor, where we go into history and we dissect history and we give you not our opinion, we give you the truth, not based on feelings or based on opinion. It's based on just historical fact. So that's what this podcast is all about, the checkerboard floor. And I just want to thank everyone for tuning in. Take my glasses off again. How's everybody doing today? It's starting to be cold out here. I'm out here in Northern California, and it's starting to be cold now. It was hot for a long time. We're looking at 90-degree weather to 100 plus. Now we're in the low 80s. Now we're starting to see 80 weather, which is cool because now it's colder. We're starting to cook more. You know, my wife's cooking breakfast, I'm cooking dinners, so we're starting to cook more now. And it, by human nature, when it starts to get cold, you don't want to go out. When it was hot as hell, 104, you wanted to go out and eat. Nobody wanted to cook, be under that oven heat, and you just didn't want to cook at that time. But now that it's getting colder, we're starting to cook more. And my wife, I woke up this morning and to the smell of pancakes and coffee and sausage, because my granddaughter's here for the week and her favorite thing is pancake and sausages. So they were out there, they were downstairs cooking. So I woke up to that, and that's a good thing. But my favorite is grits and eggs. Now, I'm not big on bucking my eyes, but if you want to see me buck my eyes and coon it up a little bit, grits and eggs, oh my God, that's my favorite. And bacon, sometimes a little bacon. I'm not real big on pork, but yeah. Which kind of brings me to what I want to talk about today. When I went downstairs, well, let me go back to that. I went downstairs and I said, "What you guys making?" And she said, "Just making some pancakes." And then so I started eating, a couple of bites. I was like, "This is pretty damn good. What, you made these from scratch?" She said, "No, just from the box." And I said, "Oh, okay." And then so we've been known to make pancakes from Bisquick, but lately Bisquick, the mix is real salty. So I don't think she used that. So, I was asking her, what did she use? She said, just this pancake mix. So I looked at the box, and I usually, Bisquick used to be good. We used to make biscuits from it and pancakes. I remember it being good, but it's real salty now. But anyway, I looked at the box, and it said the Pearl Milling Company. I'm like, "Oh, okay, Pearl Milling Company got it going on. This is pretty damn good." So it kind of took me, like it does, takes me into a deep dive. I'm like, wait a minute. Milling Company, when was it established? 1888 it was founded. So I said 1888, okay. Slavery ended in 1865. Did they have anything to do with slavery? Or are they benefiting from any type of slave trade with this company? So I looked into it, and it took me down the path of the Pearl Milling Company. What is the Pearl Milling Company? You start looking into it, and it used to be called Aunt Jemima. Now I do know Aunt Jemima. I remember seeing that in our house growing up. So Aunt Jemima, I started looking into that, and it was the Aunt Jemima pancake mix, and it was started, like I said, in 1888. And they started producing a dry mix that you can take home, put it together, I think with milk or water, and you can make your own pancakes, and they got really popular. But the stereotype of it, having Aunt Jemima on there, kind of changed things. And they end up selling it. It ended up going out of business, and it ended up being at the end, it ended up being bought by PepsiCo, the Pepsi company. So I'm seeing a chain of wealth being established from a company off the backs of black slavery and its images. Not just the work, now they're getting rich off the images of black people. So it took me there. It was owned by PepsiCo to 2021 till now, but it was started by Chris, Ruth, and Charles G. Underwood in St. Joseph, Missouri, in Missouri. And then they didn't have any success with it. So they took the Aunt Jemima company and they sold it in 1890. Okay? And the name Aunt Jemima came from an old song. It was called Old Aunt Jemima, which was a hit song in 1875. So that's where the name Aunt Jemima came from, that hit song. Now that song was redone and, you know, different names and different eras and genre throughout the years, but that's where it came from. That's where the name Aunt Jemima came from, a song. So they used the stereotype image of a mammy. And a mammy was a woman who was beyond her age of sexual needs in slavery time. When they were younger, they were used as slaves. They were used as sexual concubines. And they got to a point where they were too old for the slave master to keep raping or having intercourse with, so they became a mammy. At that stage, they would take care of the children, the white slave master's wife's children. They would take care of the household, do the cooking in the kitchen, and make sure things were taken care of in the household, because that was their use now. Now, don't get it wrong. At every age, the black slave woman was a worker. They don't give a shit if you were 90 years old. Just your sexual exploitation had ran its age limit, had expired to them. So you became now a mammy or a auntie, Aunt Jemima. It was a negative stereotype. You know, a lot of my people now use auntie as, oh, that's auntie girl, auntie this. But believe it or not, that was a stereotype. So was uncle. The word uncle was a more so older man. You're beyond your years, gray hair. Yeah, he's uncle. Hence, Uncle Tom, Uncle Ben's Rice. You were that older, bucking your eyes and doing your thing like that, but those were negative stereotypes at that time. So, back to this pancake mix, the Pearl Milling Company. It was a situation where R.T. Davis Mills owned it, and his way of bringing it to light and trying to make something out of it, he had to get some type of, once he took ownership, he had to get some type of real life person for that. to boost the sales, to show that it's just not an image on a box. This is a real person that's making this. This is kind of like the lady that goes for Popeye's chicken. Love that chicken from Popeyes. She's, oh, you come on down to Popeyes and get my spicy chicken and do all this and that and my chicken and I own this. That black woman on that commercial owns nothing of Popeyes. Popeyes is a white-run corporation that's making money. She's the image of Popeye's chicken. She doesn't own anything on Popeye's chicken. The Popeyes lady owns nothing. So he had to get an image for it. So he got an image, and her name was Nancy Green. Nancy Green was a 350-pound black woman who was born in slavery. So they got her to be the image of Aunt Jemima Pancakes. She was a real person. This was in 1890s, 1893. She was a real person, and they used her at the Columbian Expo, where she was walking around the expo and making pancakes and flipping and making sausage and stuff and cooking for people and telling them stories about back in the old slave days, we used to cook all these pancakes up and do all this for the white man and white massa. He was so good to playing into that stereotype of the good old days and buy these pancakes to make you feel good type thing. So with Nancy Green, they ran her for a while and they used her for the Aunt Jemima deal. And that ran, she used her for a good 10 years, about 10, 15 years. And till about 1914, where they renamed it. They didn't rename it yet. She represented the brand, and they renamed Aunt Jemima Mills in 1914. They renamed it to Aunt Jemima Mills in 1914 because he added his last name, R.T. Davis Mills added his last name to it because it was people were starting to see like the stereotype and it wasn't getting as popular. But by adding Nancy Green, that popularized it a little bit and gave it a little credibility, but people still was like, no, she's still bucking her eyes a little bit, and we trying to get out of that image. It's 1914 now. We trying to move on from that. So they started making dolls and making cookie jars, and they started making cutouts, and you can buy the box of the Aunt Jemima box and cut out these little dolls and have these little paper dolls, and started, really trying to just rebrand that and just make it real relevant again off of the mammy trope. So she died at 89. She was 89 years old and she ended up dying. So then they picked up another Aunt Jemima real life figure person. Her name was Anna Robinson. And they had Anna Robinson be the Aunt Jemima lady for about 1930 to 1951. And she held the title. Now I'm showing you off the backs of the mammy trope image, the black image, they're continuing to make money. The money machine has ran back from the slave look to this time period that we're at now. They're still generating income off of images now. So Annie Robinson, she was also 300 pounds. And then Eileen, I think her name is Eileen Lewis. was the next Aunt Jemima after her. And then from Eileen Lewis, what happened there? Eileen Lewis, they held her for a while, and they started the Aunt Jemima Pancake House, which Disney picked up. Now, once it went to Disneyland, to Disney, the Aunt Jemima Pancake House is inside of Disney. They added the Colonel. The Colonel, I think his name was Hebert. Colonel Hebert was her overseer, so they put him into the mix too. So it was a combination of him and her doing their thing for Disney for a while. You know, to give it that whole image of good old-fashioned Southern pancake vibe, you know. So they did that for a while, and then who else gonna pick it up and start making money off of it? Quaker Oats buys it. The Quaker Oat brand, yeah, they pick it up now. So they're rolling with it for a while. In 1925 to 1968, they held title and branding, but okay, when Quaker picked it up, they changed the image. Because now it's 1968. We got to change that image now. So now you start seeing the Aunt Jemima lose that mammy rag, and now there is no rag. She has those pearl earrings now. She has the lace collar, if you guys noticed that. Her skin is lighter. Her face is slimmer now. They're giving her a more of a Caucasian look. In a sense, they're trying to still eat off the slave image, but they have to change that image a little bit to fit the modern time. But we're still going to make money off of it, but we have to modernize her a little bit. So you notice that change started happening to play. Okay? And then in 1998, because it's still not really grasping with people. People are still looking at it funny style. They like, I don't know about this image. So in 1998, they signed Gladys Knight. No Gladys Knight and the Pips? Gladys Knight? They signed her in for promotions, to start promoting for it. And if you remember those commercials, Gladys Knight used to come on there and, be talking about the Aunt Jemima brand and really trying to put her spin on it. But, they're trying to keep it alive. But, yeah, that didn't really work out too well. So what I'm trying to get at is the imaging of black folks is still a huge moneymaker for white supremacists. And that trope of the mammy and the uncle and the auntie and those names is still a huge moneymaker for them. Okay? And you start seeing branding change about that time, like, in the 60s and the 70s. You start seeing branding get away from that trope, because now you have the 1960s and 70s. Now you have the Black Panthers coming into play. You have the Nation of Islam. You have people really pushing that black consciousness. So they really got to get rid of that image now, because black people aren't buying it anymore. They're not taken to that. And the sales are declining. So you start seeing the images leave. You start seeing like what brand is that? The California-based brand Sambo restaurants. You start seeing them get rid of that Sambo name and they start calling it, No Place Like Sam's. They changed the name. I remember they did that change. They changed Sambo restaurants to No Place Like Sam's, you know, in California. And then they also changed it to Jolly Tigers. The name to Jolly Tigers, some of the restaurants. So yeah, it's just they're trying to play with the time, and you know, it just trips me out of how just the images generating so much income and money for these companies. And I remember that in 2020, that's when the image had to really change for them, because that's when George Floyd died. Hear me out now. They said we're going to change the complete image and the name of the Aunt Jemima brand to Pearl Milling Company because of George Floyd, who died in 2020. This is what the marketing director of of Quaker said, that they're going to change it to Pearl Milling Company because they saw that the United States was changing. Their thoughts were changing. It was a worldwide move towards the George Floyd thing. So, you know, everybody had to change. This is when, believe it or not, remember Uncle Ben? Uncle Ben used to have the black chef on there, on Uncle Ben's rice. They changed that. Remember the black chef that was on the cream of wheat box? They got rid of that. All these changes, believe it or not, started in the 2020 era when George Floyd died. His death changed a lot of the imagery on packaging with the stereotypical imagery. Believe it or not. You can even go to the Indians, the Land O'Lake brand. Notice around that same time, they pulled the Indian off of the Land O'Lake butter. There's no Indian on Land O'Lake butter anymore now, if you look at it. So, yeah, it's a lot of changes happen there. But, you know, I don't want to be too long here. I just wanted to throw that out there. And all this stemmed, and it took me full circle from Aunt Jemima to the Milling brand company to how now the Milling brand company, that's their name. So when you look at a box of Pearl Milling Company pancake mix, that used to be Aunt Jemima. The image has changed, but the money is still being made off the imaging from slavery. So, yeah.